Hello everyone, welcome to Internally Screening. Today we're going to be reviewing Them, the 1954 horror film directed by Gordon Douglas about giant ants.
I'm going to have to correct you straight away. It's called Them!
Them! Exclamation mark. Which, as part of the sort of 50s trend of the fear of nuclear weapons in the aftermath of World War II. So you had a lot of these sort of creature features that were all about, like, what if nuclear bombs turned XYZ species into giant versions of them and they ran amok? And so this one focuses on what if they were really big fucking ants? And so the film kind of starts off in a kind of sort of thriller mystery sense of, like, they go out to the desert and there's like, oh, some people disappeared. Could it have been big giant ants? One doctor says it must be. And so they're kind of following on this crazy doctor's lead.
Yeah.
Guess what? They find some big fucking ants and they blow them up.
Yeah.
And then preposterously they end up in Los Angeles, and the film kind of continues on from there. It's pretty bare bones in terms of, it does what it says on the fucking tin.
Yeah.
They're big ants and they're gonna get you. So I'm gonna pass to Rupert. What did you make of Them?
Them, I thought, was very boring. Extremely boring in a way that some 50s horror films, they just are. Extremely fucking boring.
Right.
One of the most boring films I've ever seen. It's a film predicated on there being giant ants. Okay, I'm on board. Absolutely. Let's go. I'm fine with that. There were basically some giant ants at the beginning, and I was like, okay, you got a few giant ants going.
Yeah.
This could be good. I like giant ants. So, they shoot them with a bazooka. I'm like,
that's an effective
That's what
way.
I would do.
That's effective.
That's
way
what I
of
would
dealing with
fucking
that.
do. Fair enough, right? How do we escalate? Okay, because giant ants in the desert, it's not really a very scary environment because it's like you can see them coming from a mile away.
Yeah.
So you got to go to
They're
LA.
all in a hole.
You have to go to LA. That only makes sense. So you then have the whole middle of the film where, and I'm not kidding, literally nothing happens.
Yeah.
And in fact, it's almost preposterous because they're doing like this sort of detective routine where it's like, we've got to get witnesses in. Have you seen any giant ants? And it's like, well, I think if there were giant ants around, someone would have fucking seen them. It's almost like, but the film is taking it super seriously.
Yeah.
So it's not really a parody thing where it's like, oh, dude, have you seen the giant ants? It's like, no, they're really like, we need to fucking find these giant ants.
Yeah.
So it's just stupid, but nothing. It's just this whole like hour of boring bullshit, and then at the end they flamethrower the ants.
Yes.
And it is just the most boring. I guess the film is made pretty well in terms of direction. But this film was nominated for an Oscar, so I've got
an
to hold it to a high
Oscar
standard.
for special effects, and the special effects in this film are giant fluffy ant costume things that just kind of go like,
And they make a really hideous noise, which is kind of interesting at first, but then
it just keeps
when they
going.
finally come back to an ant sequence, finally you're like, oh, thank God. But it's just got this like noise bit playing over
it
it.
sounds like someone's left an alarm going.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
horrible. So yeah, you're right. Like they do spend most of the middle of the film just sort of talking to one another, hypothesizing about the intent of these giant ants. Like, oh, we've killed them in the desert, but we can't have killed all of them.
Yeah,
There
exactly.
must be more giant ants. They must have followed us back to LA.
But we can't get the FBI involved.
Yeah, and then
Because
don't the FBI get involved at the end
Oh,
anyway?
who fucking
the
knows?
military's involved. Some
man, I was hard. This film is like the cure for insomnia. I was struggling. I had to force myself to watch this shit.
So yeah, they eventually discover right at the end of the film that the ants have made their way into the drainage tunnels off of the LA River, and they do their kind of like little investigation. They've got like kind of a military maneuver. They go down all the vents, and at some point or another, and I must have not been paying attention to this bit, the ants kidnapped some children.
You don't see that.
You don't see it. No,
happens
I know you don't
off
see
screen. A woman just comes up and says, "My kids, they were off with my husband in this doing whatever." And then they're like, "Well, we got to save the kids." So basically, the film basically realizes that it's like, "Oh, there's no reason to give a fuck. We need to suddenly get a reason to give a fuck about these ants."
Right, yeah.
Because essentially, at the end of the film, they find out the ants are living in the sewers and not really hurting anyone.
No, they're not even coming above ground.
So they have to be like, oh no, they kidnapped some children. Why did ants kidnap children?
Yeah, and not eat them immediately.
Yeah.
They're not like wasps.
They're not spiders.
They're not parasitic,
Yeah.
where they like need to lay eggs inside the other
Yeah,
creatures.
they don't like wrap it up like spiders and save it for later.
Exactly. Yeah, like ants They eat leaves and shit.
Yeah.
Like, what? This thing, the notion of like nuclear radiation. Oh my god, it's going to create like Godzillas, but they're ants. But are we saying they're going to change the behaviors of ants? Are ants suddenly going to become carnivorous? Now, you know, we may get someone in the comments being like, Adam, ants are carnivorous and you're fucking stupid.
Yeah, but look,
fair enough.
Who gives a shit, right? Think about Godzilla, okay? Do lizards actually breathe fire and walk around Tokyo smashing shit up?
No.
No, if you made a giant lizard, it would probably just be like, oh, like, it's not going to do anything.
Yeah,
but like Godzilla, the 50s, 60s Godzilla is a fucking great film because it knows what it is. It's like, here's a guy in a suit dressed as a giant lizard going ah and smashing buildings up. Like it's fucking great. And this film has giant ants. Multiple giant ants, which is always better.
Yeah.
And doesn't do anything with ant strength.
Yeah, they bring that up at the beginning, like, oh, you know, this ant has like 500 times the strength of its
It's like all everyone knows about ants.
Yeah, they're just really fucking strong. It's like
they just go and then they shoot them.
Yeah. Like, it's tough to shoot them, but if you get a bazooka out there,
well, straight away they like murk, just like genocide the desert ants. So it's like, right, okay.
Yeah, there's some kind of like half amusing hijinks towards the end in that ant sequence. There's the bit where the first guy gets into the ant nest and he's like kind of having to dodge all these clumsy ants.
It's amazing because I think the film is so boring. It's like you could have played me 3 episodes of the new Lord of the Rings show in the middle of the film and I wouldn't have noticed. Like, honestly, I was just glazed over because I just couldn't take it in. And like, this shows you this one bit of tension where there's a guy like, oh, he's got to reload his gun, and there's an ant coming for him, and it's like the most basic like tension filmmaking thing ever.
Yeah.
And suddenly I was like,
oh my god,
this guy's gonna get eaten by ants.
Filmmaking genius. Make your film so boring that the minimal effort seems like absolute.
It's just the most visceral thing ever.
Yeah. I mean, it's a film about giant ants.
I know.
They really.
How do you make that so boring?
I don't know. That's the thing. It becomes hard on a critical angle because you kind of run out of things to say about it.
There's not much.
It's really remarkably empty.
That's what's so damning, right?
Yeah. Like, the performances, they're all okay. They're very 50s performances. They're very like, oh gosh, we've got to go over here. And
we've got the fat silly band.
They've all got that weird kind of the American version of received pronunciation where they all sound like transatlantic. They've all got very English tinges to their accents. Yeah. They all act in that very stiff cardboard way that I don't know when in the timeline of filmmaking it changed, whereas like realism came to be the main thing, but we're still very much entrenched in that. I would say the most interesting thing about this film is the nuclear fear under the subtext, and that's context outside of the film, and it is. And the thing of it is, it's not exclusive to this film either. In terms of like there are, you know, this belongs to a far wider genre of like, you know, Cold War, like this isn't so much Cold War, but nuclear threat. Yeah, you know, what would a nuclear bomb do to someone? Or like do to the environment. That is interesting in concept, but what does this film do with it? Nothing. It goes, oh, there's bloody giant ants. Yeah. And the consequences of those giant ants are never really examined in any meaningful way outside of them being really big fucking ants.
Yeah, it's just, this film, it seems to have almost nothing to say about it.
Yeah. It introduces a concept and then goes, all right, I'm out. Like, I guess they go to LA. They have a great time.
Like, I wanted to see an ant crawl up a building. I wanted to see an ant flip over a car. Yeah. You know, crush a woman with its jaws. I wanted to see all of these things. And if you watch the trailer for this film, it looks amazing.
Yeah. They really splice it into.
You know, in terms of those like nuclear fear films, you know, Godzilla is the GOAT.
Yeah, of course.
And I wasn't expecting this to touch Godzilla, but I wanted it to be in the spirit of Godzilla. Right. And it really, really shows you how great of a film the original Godzilla is, because it's just dire.
Yeah. So what are you giving it?
2 out of 10. 2 out of 10. It gets a point because the film is pretty well shot. Yeah. The acting is all okay. Yeah. And the actors, they are doing their fucking best to keep their heads and make this ant film serious. And, you know, fair play to them. And, you know, some of the special effects are kind of fun. Right. Even if they look terrible. Yeah. But you've got to take what you can get. Yeah, that's fair enough. I think I'd go ever so slightly softer on this film and give it 3, but that's only because of kind of a base level of competence to all of it. Yeah. I am still astounded that it was nominated for an Oscar for special effects. The standards really have grown over the years. Well, not much, because Marvel still gets nominated for special effects.
Yeah, true. But yeah, I mean, outside of a base level of competence, there's really nothing to write home about. It's amusing at best. Like it's kind of like it's got like a sort of kind of trivial whimsy to it in the first 10 or 15 minutes, and then immediately there's no like,
first 10 or 15 minutes is all right. Last 10 minutes is all right, but then you have the entire rest of the film.
Then you got a whole hour exactly. So it's if you haven't seen this film, I would not say it's worth your time.
Engineered a slice of bread that was like that, just like the end of a loaf that's like just crust, like, and you somehow made that the middle with little bits of nice bread around the outside. That's what this film is.
Right. Oh, I see. So you're thinking it's like an apple made of bread, and the core is the really hard the elbow of bread.
Yeah.
You've got just mostly elbow. But like a little bit of bread.
Just around the outside. That's what it is.
We've bioengineered the bread avocado.
Yes,
some
exactly.
Shit like that. Okay, well, there you are. If you're into your black and white horror films, kind of nostalgia, you really like a slice of the 50s, I'm sure there's better films you could be watching.
This one is for the purists
but
only, I think.
That's what I would have. That's what I would
Veteran
say.
only. If you want to just like have a fun 50s film, anything other than this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to pretend to be very well versed in 50s films, but this, surely there's better than this.
Just like
this is
any Hitchcock film,
right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Any of them.
And at some point, maybe I'll be able to come back and be like, you never heard of the giant ants of Mars? That's way fucking better. On my ant tier list, fucking them is like right the fuck.
Well,
bottom.
coming up, we will have a review of Invasion of the Giant Spiders.
True. So yeah, stick around to see if that holds a candle to them.
Yeah.
Them! And I guess that about wraps it up. Thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. If you dislike this video, please dislike it. So that about wraps it all up. Thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe. If you're an avid them fan, a supporter of them,
or you're a giant ant,
if you're a giant ant, please dislike this video. Share it to your giant ant friends and tell them to come and hate on us.
Share it with them.
Share it with them. And please stick around for more Hooptober horror review content. We've got plenty more coming for the rest of the month. And beyond that, more reactions, reviews, of the like. We've got plenty more stuff on the horizon. So yeah, stick around for that. And that's us. Peace.